Welcome back to Interviews with the Pros, the podcast where we sit down with the people shaping corporate events from every angle. Not just the planners, but the experts in the industry we've had the pleasure to work with at KCI. We'll speak with strategists, marketing executives, global events leaders, entrepreneurs, technologists, and all kinds of specialists in the different areas that make the industry move. I'm your host, Kimberly Clark, CEO and founder of KCI Management and Maestra. With 3 decades in corporate events and thousands of programs behind me, I've learned that excellence doesn't live in one role. It lives across the ecosystem. Today, I'm joined by the amazing Liz Fitzgibbons, the president at KCI Management. In this episode, we'll be talking about Liz's career path from entry-level planner to president, and we'll explore key factors of success for emerging and inspired planners on a similar journey to accelerate their careers. This conversation offers a look into the role of the president in a boutique corporate events agency and offers insights you may not otherwise get exposure to if you stay in your own lane. Let's get into it. All right, well, we'll start with introductions. And I always like to start the show off by introducing each other, but we're going to make it fun. So you remember that question you used to get when you were little, what do you want to be when you grow up? Can you answer that for us now and tell us what it is you actually do now that you're grown up?
Yeah. So when I was little, I always wanted to be a teacher, which now feels like a strange answer compared to where we are. But I know, and I have known for a long time, that I've always wanted to work with people. And I think this was just a natural progression of that. And while maybe I'm not teaching in the same way, I still feel like in this role, I still get to teach and work with a lot of people, so get to learn new things.
That's so on point for you. I can totally see that. So let's tell the audience how we know each other. Do you remember when we first met? 17 and a bit years ago, was it?
Yeah. So I was in school and just trying to gather as much information and meet as many people as I possibly could. And it was through my sister and actually somebody who used to work for KCI that got us connected. And at that point, I think there was maybe 4 employees. So it looked a lot different than it does now. And when I had reached out to just gather some information and try to learn more about what KCI did, instead of that person connecting with me, they connected me directly to Kimberly. And so we had a phone conversation, I think one night. And then I started coming to events part-time just to scope things out. And then the rest is history, and I just never left.
That's for sure. Thank goodness. Yeah, you really obviously have grown up here in the agency. So you're 17 plus years in here, which is amazing. And fresh out of school, which I think is so unusual too. You know, a lot of folks are getting experience in different places, but, you know, it's not necessarily your loyalty, but it's your passion. I think you know, right away when you joined, I think you joined so quickly, or I invited you to join so quickly because you just had that energy that we were a match. You had that level of professionalism. My gosh, you say we looked a little different back then. We looked a lot different back then. You know, we talk about scramble the symphony in Maestra, and we were very scrambly back then. And yes, I know you have an education in events, but you were getting the education on the job back then. And that's a lot of what it is and what it was. So for listeners who might not know what a president of a boutique global events agency actually does, can you walk us through what's a day-to-day in your life? What's your role inside the business look like, Liz?
Yeah. So again, we are a boutique agency, which I think we say a lot, which is code for we're small, but I believe that's always been something that's been intentional. We know we didn't want to be the biggest agency in the world, so we really like that we're small, and it means that we are nimble and can make decisions and change our mind on how we're navigating the work that we're doing or the clients that we're working with. And a day-to-day for me is really just a lot of oversight to a lot of things that are happening in the business. So again, like I said, because we're small, there's a lot of ongoing client conversations, and I still like to be really connected to our clients and stay aligned to what they're working on, understanding the challenges that they're having and how we stay ahead of them so we can make sure that our team's well equipped to be able to continue to partner with them and understands what they're up against when they're working with our clients as well. And then also a ton of work with our internal team. So again, the nice piece about being the size that we are is that I get to talk to a lot of people and meet with different people on our team and understand, again, what the day in life of them look like. So we understand what they're up against too. So there's a lot of just, again, conversations, strategy for the future, and a lot of just the kind of day-to-day operations that goes into running an agency.
And from time to time, you find yourself at events where
Definitely.
you're, there again, I'm sure it's those events that are high visibility, high stakes, definitely where we have a volume of team there and on site at events. And everyone thinks it's so glamorous, right? They can't wait to travel to the events. And you and I can both tell them it's not that glamorous. It's amazing when we get to sit down and have a dinner together while away at an event, because usually, the work runs late. But when you're the one on site with our team at events, and I know the answer to this because I've seen you in action, but share for our listeners, are you just, walking around shaking hands? What are you doing at the event?
Yeah. So I kind of do everything, which I think for some, especially when new people start now, they kind of feel a little intimidated or weirded out when we're doing, something as small as an Amazon order. And I'm just calling to be like, wait, did we get all this stuff ordered? Is this how it's going to be organized? And they're like, why does she care? But again, because we're in the business that we are, those little details, and again, as small as they may seem, making sure that they're buttoned up ensures that everybody on our side and on the client side has success. So on site, you can probably find me in a number of different roles, typically trying to check in with our team. I really just like to see how things work when we're at events too, whether that's from our side, things that we're working on, or from the client side. So being able to sit in on part of the keynote, hear what content is going on, or if I'm at a registration area and I can hear our team interacting with clients, and maybe I hear something that's like, wait, could we tweak this a little bit? And maybe we could try it this way instead, and it could really enhance the experience for the customers that are attending our client's event. Whatever those pieces are, I'm kind of all over the map. And again, we're an organization that likes to also have a little bit of fun. So you could talk to different team members of ours, and now it's kind of become a running joke where they put jobs that would be maybe considered less desirable for people on our team, and they'll put my name on them next to them in the ERO, more as a joke. So they'll wait and see if I find them. It started with cleaning yoga mats a few years ago at a 5 a.m. yoga session that we had, and it's just continued. We also like to have laughs along the way while we're on site, so we all find little ways to keep each other on our toes and have some fun too.
Okay, but wait, did you clean yoga mats?
No, we decided that everybody could clean their own yoga mats. Nobody has to do it. The instructor would just ask everybody to clean them, just like you would at a regular gym class at the end.
I have stories of
but I did have to problem solve that because it would have been my job otherwise. So.
No, I have a story from early in my career too. I remember doing a kickoff event where we'd ordered, I don't know, it was 1,500 water bottles, and I was head of operations for this event for our client. And I realized we had to clean them before we gave them out, or put a note in them that said they need to be cleaned. I'm like, okay, how's this going to work? Do I need a team of 10, including myself? Like, I get it. Yeah, we do what we have to do when we're on site. But yeah. I remember joining you. You had invited me to join our team at an event recently, or maybe it was last spring. And I said, I want to be there to help, like, hydrate people. I want to be there to feed them. I want to prop them up, and I'll go get the coffee order. And then my favorite part was 3 of our team members had to come and help me with the coffee orders. I mean, maybe I would be better at the yoga mat cleaning or the water bottle cleaning, but anyway, the coffee was delivered and everybody got fed.
There you go. Well, now there's so many of them to carry depending on the event too, because we're a lot bigger than we were all those years ago. True. So I feel like you need the extra hands just to carry all the coffees that we need to carry.
That's true. So a day in your life, your role is definitely many different things depending on the day, but I love how you are so involved, whether it's our clients, whether it's our team member, because we're boutique. Again, we call it code for small because you want to be involved, right? And our clients have access to you. Our team members have access to you. It's not, you put in a request to get to Liz and it's 48 hours later. So I love that. What is it that you think makes KCI different, Liz? And I know that's when we can't necessarily articulate that, but try me today. What do you think makes us so different from your perspective?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think it's really our people. I think first of all, we have great people, but also we've really prioritized our people, and we've made them really, again, at the center of everything that we do, while our clients are also very close to the center because they're obviously super, super important too. We prioritize our people. I think it was like 2022, around there, we created a people team. So now we have a group of people that are just dedicated to thinking about our people and how their experiences at KCI and making sure that they have the resources and the tools that we need. We're not a big agency. We've talked about how we're a boutique and how we're not, and how we're small kind of on purpose. So at any given point, we're typically between like 35 and 40 people. Again, sometimes maybe a little bit higher with contractors, but we have dedicated people, even for an organization our size, that are just focused on our people, and making sure that this is a place that they want to work and that they're feeling challenged in the things that they're working on. And if they want growth opportunities, that we're able to make those things happen, and that we're really finding the right clients to work with to make sure the work is fulfilling to the people on our team, which I think is so, so important. And I think why we have such good tenure at our company too, and why people have been around so long.
You mentioned that, of course, our clients are important too, but the lesson that I remember learning it for myself first, and I'm not going to lie, I think you were there ahead of me. I grew up in an environment, my dad was an entrepreneur, and he went to the ends of the earth for his clients. And so I was brought up in a retail background with the client is always first. The customer always comes first. You have seen it before, and I know our COO has always encouraged us that it's not the client that comes first, it's our people. Because if our people are not happy, if they're not fulfilled, if they're not enjoying their jobs, they're not going to deliver to our clients who do matter. So, flipping that script for me was important. But as I said, you were already there years ago. And I remember a time last winter, November-ish, where a new opportunity had come to my attention, come my way. And I brought it to you. So it was a great client, a great brand, could have been. And, you were looking at the calendar and you're like, yeah, technically, yeah, we can fit that in. It's right in our wheelhouse. It's what KCI does. It was a leadership meeting for about, 250 people. And we talked it through, and all of a sudden you had a moment. You said, wait, when is it again? And I gave you the dates, and you were quickly doing some math in your head, and you said, no, we're going to have to decline that. And I said, well, why? You just said we had the capacity. And you said, because that means somebody won't have a Christmas. And I was like, oh my God, I just got chills telling that story. And that is why I believe when you were appointed president almost 2 years ago, that the KCI team lines up behind you, right? There's a joke, they call you Madam President, and they fall in line because you are so protective of the people, because that's the brand. And that's why they line up to support you. I love when you all come back from events and I read the feedback, and they all want to do you proud, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that is really what makes us different. I think you did a great job articulating that. So I know, yeah, it's not an easy one to answer because there's something special about our team.
Totally. And I just think we're so lucky to get to work with a group of mostly women who are just here to build each other up and not tear each other down. And it's just such a supportive work environment. And I think, again, we just all have each other's backs, and people are willing to help other people on the team to kind of get where they need to go or help with what they're doing. And I just think it's such again, we joke and we call it the pink bubble, but it's such a nice place to be. And I think, even the examples that you were giving, but having the access. So again, for our team to have access to myself, to you, all of those things, I think also just help contribute to what makes them happy and can help us keep that culture that we've worked so hard over the years to create.
We have, and I give you a ton of credit for protecting that culture. At KCI, I've heard others describe us as a select group, right? Mm-hmm. Once you get selected, and if you kind of work through it and kind of learn with us, it's a select group to be around. And I think everyone on the team is very protective of that. And you maintain that level of standard. So, and speaking of you and your progression, I know you're incredibly humble. In fact, I had to reschedule this several times because I know it's not your favorite to have to talk about yourself. I have seen your LinkedIn profile and it's barely there. So I know you are all about propping others up. You mentioned that earlier about, how we have each other's backs. And you're the least braggy person I know, but I'm going to put you on the spot. And I know you have a ton of superpowers. I've had the pleasure of working with you, but can you share with the audience, what are 3 of your superpowers that you think have led you to where you are today?
Yeah. My favorite subject, me. No, just kidding. So I think my superpowers are really one, I would say I have a lot of empathy, which I think can be a superpower, and it can be also sometimes a challenge for me as well. But I also think figuring out how to navigate that has also been something that has made that power even stronger. So I think I just have a natural ability to just read a room or understand what somebody might be feeling, even if they're not speaking those words, almost like a sixth sense. I don't know, like that sort of feeling that you just get.
Yeah, you
And
do.
again, it took a long time to like navigate to figure out how to really understand
It's
it. Parts of it were
exhausting too, isn't
easy.
it? Like your heart
Yeah,
is so in it for other people. It's a lot on you. It's tiring, but
yeah, and it can be. And then I think, but it's such a cool thing because I think sometimes then to help other people understand their why or what's important to them, I think having that ability to sort of see and understand maybe what could be going on underneath, to be able to ask questions, to be able to have a dialogue and get to those things, I think is something that's really, really cool. I think that another piece for me is just the ability to understand why. I know that sounds strange, but kind of in problem solving, all of those pieces. But when we work with our clients and with our team, both of them, being able to understand what makes people tick, and again, why are they doing the things that they're doing, or we're working on an event. Why is this piece important? And I know I talked about it a little while ago, but all those like little details and being able to see all of those and how they work together and the big picture, I think is something that is again an ability that I have, and recognizing, and again we talk a lot about this on our team too, is building trust with people, and those little moments build the trust,
yeah.
and being able to do that and understand that is probably another one. So just that ability to kind of understand why um, is something, and then my third one.
You
um,
hate bragging about yourself. I can tell. This is like pulling teeth out of you. Oh my gosh. You have so many more than three. I should answer this for you. But anyway, please.
Wait, what
Okay.
would my third one be for you? I'm like, what is my third one?
I can see the sunshine coming in and shining on you doing this interview. And in my head, I'm just like, you are just have this sunny disposition. People want to be around you.
Oh,
You're magnetic. And
thank
and
you.
that makes our team want to light up and work for you. That makes our clients want to work with you. And all those things combine, your empathy, your ability to see the why and to understand the business reason. But you have a wonderful sunny disposition and likability, and people want to be around you. So that's a superpower, because
Thank you.
not everybody has that. But
No,
what was
and
your third?
I think again, just being, I don't know, positive always seems better than looking at things on the bright side. And I think you're the same way. We're both kind of the same way, where we prefer to kind of stay focused there. And then I think I'm trying to think. I feel like maybe my third is around accountability, probably, which is one of our core values at KCI too. But I've always been highly accountable, whether that's to our clients or whether that's to our team. Just again, a lot of people have reasons for doing things, and I feel like I'm just almost always a pretty straight shooter. If I make a mistake, I'm going to tell you. If I promise I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I think um, from both sides of things, I think from our team's perspective, I feel like I'm good at showing up when I say I'm going to show up and delivering on what I've said I will deliver. And again, that gives them trust in me. And I think on our client side, it's the same way. So if there's something that maybe we're having a challenge with, or even just our regular day-to-day work, knowing that they can just depend on us. And I think overall as KCI, that's something that shines through, is just my.
Yeah, and that comes naturally to you too. You don't have to work hard at that, but you lead with that example all the time. I say when I'm talking to potential new clients of ours, accountability is definitely in our DNA, and I always say it's our greatest strength and our
Yeah,
greatest downfall, because
yeah,
we'll be, back to your empathy, but we will be so highly accountable that we take on sometimes more than we should. you know, I know there are times when we just do it. We just fix it. We just handle it. And then we have to kind of unwind ourselves. Keegan and I had a conversation about this, our client from Informatica, how she appreciates how accountable we are. But she and I had the conversation about, Casey, I need you to stop helping sometimes because we just do it. And she needed sometimes for her team to learn the lesson with us. So again, our accountability is so strong and it's so high, can also be a challenge for us, because I know for yourself, you're so accountable. You will be exhausted on your last legs, but you will still show up. And it's finding that balance, right? Knowing when to wave the white flag and take a break.
Exactly.
Those are good. And we can work on your LinkedIn profile, but not for anybody else to go, have you hire you away. You don't really need a LinkedIn profile. You're fine.
Exactly. It's totally fine. I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you. All right. So you've been in this industry your whole career, which is amazing. And I love that you've grown up in the industry. You've seen all different types that it takes to plan an event, execute an event, do the business of experiential marketing that we do. What do you think? I think there's a lot of folks out there that in our audience, they're either accidental planners, or I've been calling them emerging planners. From your lens, Liz, what is one skill or trait that you think is non-negotiable? Like if you think you want to be in events, or if you are looking at a career in events, or you're early in your career in events, like what's the skill or the trait that you have to have?
Yeah, it's funny. I've been thinking a lot and having conversations with different people a lot about this lately, especially in the space that we're entering into with AI and everything else. But I think the biggest one is customer service. And I know some people will think like it's not with events. Everything we do, whether it's with our clients, especially when you're agency, but even if you're an internal planner and your client is your boss or your sales organization or your field marketing team or your marketing team, everybody is the different groups you're interacting with. It comes back to customer service. And I think again, when you end up at the event and you're with the clients or whatever that is, but I just think having strong skills to be able to interact with people and recognize how to deliver good customer service is so important in this role, or in any role in the events business, because you're interacting with so many different people and being able to understand, again, what makes them tick at a high level and what's going to make them happy and what success is going to look like. But having that ability to deliver good customer service, I think is something. And I think again, as we get away from, a lot of, now everybody's on their phones and, we're not talking to people as often. We're not picking up the phone as often. And when people do have to pick up the phone, they're like, oh, how am I going to do that? But being face to face with people, having any interactions, all of those things, I just think, again, as the world continues to change, I think from my perspective, I think one thing that will still remain super, super important in this role is that ability to interact with people. And again, like I said, understand what they're looking for and being able to deliver a good experience for people.
And so much of that is tied into communication as well, right? So how you communicate with your customers, customer service. Again, that all makes sense to me because it comes back to your empathy and you being able to read the room, read a situation and interact, how you deliver news. I mean, gosh, how often do we need to deliver bad news or a change of plans or, a budget concern? Those aren't fun conversations to have in events, but how you deliver that communication, and because you've built that trust with your stakeholders, then you can have those honest conversations with someone. But you're right. I remember running into a former employee of ours a couple years ago at IMEX, at really big corporate event. For anyone who doesn't know it, it's the event for event planners, basically. And I was there, ran into one of our former employees who we adored. She was wonderful. And she had left to go work for another organization where she's just doing searches, just site searches. And at KCI being a boutique, we're generalists, so you work on a lot of different things. But she said this thing that hit me. I was like, what? She said, oh gosh, I'll never work in agency like that again. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, there's so much customer service to it. She said, I was always terrified I'd say the wrong thing. I never thought of it like that, because it's natural to us. We build the relationships, but I think building on what you're just saying, that skill or that trait, being able to understand that your role is customer. If your customer is, your project leader within your organization, if your customer is, the stakeholder outside the organization, like understanding that and the ability to communicate. And you're right, Liz, with AI coming, like where does that all play in terms of our communication? I'd be mortified if anyone ever thought that my emails were written by AI, because to me, it's about building the relationship, right? So even knowing when to, hop on the phone, you're very good at that. You will pick up the phone before sending a.
Nobody answers anymore because nobody else wants to talk on the phone, but
I do always. No, but that's so true, Liz. And I ask a lot of the folks I'm interviewing on here what they think is the skill or trait that's non-negotiable. So I think that's a really good one. So again, in keeping with success and career development in the industry, we're winding up this episode, and I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'm interested to hear where you're going to go with this one, on what was the best career advice you were ever given that may have led to your undoubted success today, by the way, that you would maybe share with the audience, if you can reflect on something that that you think would be helpful for them to know, the advice that you received.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was specific advice that somebody necessarily said, hey, this is advice that I'm giving you. But I think early on, again, maybe a superpower or tied into my superpowers is also just my ability when I'm talking about like reading a room or being able to see things and understand things. And I think just looking at other people and always trying to figure out what qualities you want to take from people and what qualities you don't. And early in my career at KCI, with different clients that we worked with, there was a lot of really tough people that we worked with, and things just looked a lot different than they did now. And the way people treated each other maybe wasn't always as kind as the way we might treat each other now. And I think in some of the negative experiences I had while I was navigating things, I learned a lot. So I think, when you're working with clients and you're seeing how they treat people on a team and how they speak to people, recognizing that instead of saying, oh, this is just a terrible thing, instead leaning into, and what I try to encourage people on our team to do as well when they're in those situations, is what can I take from this instead? So when I see somebody treating people maybe poorly, or getting really angry about something and not communicating well to their team members, and then you see the team kind of deflate, what that does, and instead of looking at that and saying, I can't learn anything from this, looking at that and seeing what I can take away from that, and exactly the kind of leader that I didn't want to be and don't want to be as I continue to go through my career. So I don't know if it was necessarily advice that I was specifically given, but I would say taking every opportunity that I had and being able to recognize what learnings I could pull from it, even maybe when it felt like there's really nothing here that would be something that you would think you'd want to taking the things that you're like, hey, wait, you see the way, you work with people and you can understand what they're capable of, but with the wrong leader, they lose all of their capabilities and their ability to deliver on things that they should be able to deliver on. But under the right leadership, people can really thrive and deliver outstanding results. So I think for me, it was kind of sitting back, and I still do this to this day. I just observe people and see what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And I think continuing to evolve and recognizing there's not one size fits all. So as you're working with your teams and your organizations and your clients, really finding ways to adapt your leadership style to be able to work with all the different people you work with, so everybody hopefully can start to live and be their best selves when they're around you or working on a project with you or part of your organization, whatever that might be. I know that was kind of long-winded, but
I so love that. That's such a real answer. When I think so often, that's one of your most endearing qualities too, is you're just so real and authentic. And I love that. I know this is a bonus one, and this isn't so much a question as much as a story I'd love to share about you. I guess there's two things. One on that, by the way, while you observe, I would also say, and I don't know if this is advice you were ever given, this might have come from your dad. We quoted your dad a lot in the early part of your career, but I remember as a, senior leadership team having meetings, and you would do this thing we call sticking your foot in the door, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The door is
Yeah.
closing and Liz is on the outside of the door, and you'd be like, what are you guys talking about? What's going on in here? And since we've dubbed that as, inserting yourself, which you've taught not only in internal meetings, but, in the events business, as you said. So I love that, taking almost challenging situations and looking for the positive. You insert yourself, whatever, you don't run away, right? Most people would shy away from a negative situation, like, oh, that was uncomfortable, I'm gonna leave that there. And you don't, you do this, I'm gonna lean right into that, and I'm gonna see what I can learn from that. And so my second kind of bonus thought story, not much a question, I remember when you were having some outside training, coaching, because there are times where, you're not going to get everything from your career internally, right? So you seek out support in your network. And your coach at the time, will you tell the story? Your mom found your coach at the time asked you to write down.
Yeah.
Will you tell that story? And when was that? Like 10 years ago?
It would have been 10 years ago. So I think it was around my 30th birthday, and they wanted me to write down 30 things I couldn't do when I was 20, which was really funny to find just a few months ago, as I was getting close to my 40th birthday. But there was a number of random things, but I did have so many things related to work and the ability to run a company. And it was so crazy to reflect back and think where I was when I was 30 to where I was president when I turned 40, and how just cool of an experience to have that moment of reflection, to think about what's possible in a 10-year period. So then I encourage other people on our team to try to do the same thing if they have milestones coming up, because I think it's so cool to be able to look back and have those moments where you're like, wow, look at this change and look at the difference in the person, the leader, the everything that I've become in those 10 years.
I think that's such good advice for anyone paying attention, to ask yourself, what is it that I can't do today? And the list may be long, but Liz's list said, I can't run the company. And there she was 10 years later, the president, running the company, and so successfully, and her team lining up behind her. Her clients adore her. I adore you, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was great.
That brings us to the end of today's conversation with Liz Fitzgibbons. Thank you, Liz, for sharing your perspective, your experience, and the amazing work you're doing in leading a team of rockstar corporate event planners. Your insights into the industry are incredibly valuable for anyone working in or around corporate events. If you'd like to see more of what Liz is up to, check out kcimanagement.com or on LinkedIn and Instagram by searching KCI Management Corporate Events, where you'll find more on the services and awesome work that they do. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time on Interviews with the Pros.